All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So a report just came out from ESPN saying that Brandon Aiyuk could become a trade candidate, right? A realistic trade candidate if the 49ers and Aiyuk don't reach a long-term extension. It kind of feels similar to the whole Deebo Samuel situation that we saw a couple years ago, right? Where Deebo wanted to get paid a lot of money. Obviously, his value to the team was at like an all-time high, and the 49ers ended up giving him that long-term deal. But here's the deal with Aiyuk. It might be a different story because and look, Aiyuk is a fantastic player. A hard-nosed wide receiver, good route runner, tons of production, coming off a great season, over 1,300 receiving yards. Obviously, Aiyuk is a freaking beast, but you look at the Niners books. Now, it's not to say they can't get anything done, obviously, but there's a lot of big contracts there. A lot of big contracts. Bosa, McCaffrey, Trent Williams, Deebo Samuel. There's a lot of money being and keep in mind, this is like the Niners aren't in the best cap positioning, and Brock Purdy is on his rookie 7th round pick contract. So it just goes to show how much money the 49ers have delegated or have put in to the roster around Brock, both offensively and defensively here. But here's the deal. John Lynch did come out and say that, didn't necessarily downplay it, but just kind of talked about how valuable Aiyuk is to the team, and they have a pretty good track record of extending those players. Obviously they have all these players under contract because players want to be there, and the organization is proactive in that regard. They always find ways to get it done. Now, of course, he did come out and say something similar regarding DeForest Buckner when he ended up getting traded to the Indianapolis Colts in exchange for a 1st-round pick, which I believe ended up becoming Kinlaw from South Carolina. But in any case, look, if Aiyuk gets traded, the New York Jets, in my opinion, better be all over it. They got to be all over it. Now, it sucks because we don't have a 2nd-round pick to offer. Personally, I just don't think I would trade away the 10th overall pick. So we're talking about mid-round picks. And then if that's the case, right, Aiyuk becomes available for trade, it's like, okay, well, what teams that have 2nd-round picks are interested in Aiyuk? All of a sudden, those guys can potentially beat our offer. That's the curveball here in this whole situation, unless the Jets want to offer future picks. But how valuable is a 2025 2nd and a 2024 3rd compared to a 2024 2nd and other things as well? So it really comes down to a lot of different things here, but or a lot of different offers, interest from other teams, because let's face it, there's a lot of teams that need wide receiver help. I do feel like the teams that are established, well ran, right, the teams that are consistently making the playoffs that need help at wide receiver, Baltimore, Buffalo, Kansas City, Tampa Bay, they could probably just target some of the guys in the bottom of round 1. Franklin from Oregon, Coleman from Florida State, Worthy from Texas, Mitchell from Texas, right? The list goes on. There's Leggett from South Carolina, one of my favorites. There's so many wide receivers in this class that I don't think teams necessarily have to go out and break the bank and say, okay, Aiyuk is, man, we got to be all over it because he's the only wideout. He's our only option. Right, clearly that's not the case. But if you're a team like the New York Jets with, a bunch of holes, okay, we got to fill left tackle, we got to fill left guard, we got to fill right tackle. Where's AVT going to be playing? Who's going to be the 3rd down back? Who's going to be the backup QB? Are we okay at safety depth? Wide receiver 2, who's going to be the slot wide receiver to replace Randall Cobb? We have a lot of defensive line. Defensive tackle is a real, defensive line depth really on the inside is a big need. Although Perion Winfrey, I really am a big believer in his game. I think he's going to pop off this season, if of course given an opportunity. But in any case, the Jets might be more inclined to go down the Aiyuk route if he does end up becoming a trade candidate, because we only have that 10th overall pick, and if we have to fill, if we desperately need a right tackle, if Waga's on the board, and the top 3 wide receivers are off the board, I would assume that we're going to go with right tackle. So I think, again, the bottom line is the Jets got to be all over this in my opinion, if Aiyuk becomes available. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, go Jets.